In this era of deep complexity.
Okay, Honest Abe. Honest Abe never lied. That's the good thing. That's the big difference between Abraham Lincoln and you.
Beyond the edges of black or white.
We choose truth over facts.
It's time to be notionally accurate.
Precisely, factually, and semantically correct than about being morally right.
Here's your host, Captain Kirk.
Welcome one and all to the third episode of the Notionally Accurate podcast, produced live right here at the One Man's Burden Studios in my undisclosed compound, located somewhere in the land of 10,000 lakes, smack dab in Tallahassee, Arizona. My name is Captain Kirk, and I'll be your affable host. The madman's done it again.
From Marquette to Midland, from Lansing to Flint, and from Grand Rapids to right here in Detroit. We stand on the shoulders of red-blooded Michigan patriots who laid the railroads, worked the factories, tilled the fields, forged the steel, fought the battles and won the victories that built the Motor City and made America into the greatest and most powerful nation in the history of the world. And we're going to bring back your auto industry at a level greater than it was 30 years ago.
Future President Trump went to Michigan recently, and he's currently neck and neck with Joey B., the walking corpse. After the whirlwind Nevada rally, he's reiterated his call for tips to be exempted from taxation. As someone who has worked for tips and worked in a place where others had to claim theirs, I think this move is both ideologically consistent and great electoral politics. More of this from future President Trump will definitely help him come November. The polls look great, and even the better markets favor the future president. But with some 4 months to go, and a debate as well as two major conventions to come, anything can happen. And what of the current White House resident? What do his supporters think will help him stay in power?
Trump is, we all know how scary and dangerous he is. You have to convey that. You gotta scare people.
Jesus f***ing Christ.
On this vote, the yeas are 216, the nays are 207. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
That's the roll call for the House's contempt vote against Biden's Attorney General Merrick Garland for not turning over the audio for the big guy's deposition in the so-called Her report. That's the report that effectively said the current White House resident would play the old demented grandpa card in front of a sympathetic jury and get off scot-free over his illicit possession of classified documents. A charge which prompted a press conference upon its publication that led to a hilarious moment back in February where he confirmed his senility.
As you know, initially the president of Mexico, Sisi, did not want to open up the gate to allow humanitarian material to get in. I talked to him. I convinced him to open the gate.
Garland's the second attorney general to achieve this dubious honor, after Obama's wingman, Columbia grad Eric Holder, was held in contempt over that regime's gun-running program. Rather than turn over the audio, among other excuses, was that the big guy's detractors would edit the audio to make him look bad, which, last I checked, wasn't a legitimate reason to invoke executive privilege. Yet we're told by his wife,
he can do it, and I see Joe every day. I see him out, traveling around this country. I see his vigor. I see his energy. I see his passion every single day.
But have no fear. The Department of Justice, which Garland runs, investigated itself and determined their boss did nothing wrong.
We have heard some limited reaction thus far from House Republicans kind of deriding this letter. And in speaking to many of them ahead of this decision by the Justice Department, they argued that they were simply doing what was within their power, that they were doing their job. But Democrats argue that this was simply a political ploy, that Republicans simply wanted this tape to try to potentially politically exploit the president.
Which brings us to Hunter Biden, Joey's ne'er-do-well scofflaw son, who somehow found himself convicted of 3 different counts in a case regarding his perjury on a 4473 form, purchasing a firearm while addicted to non-alcoholic drugs. This occurred in a friendly venue, with a jury pool consisting of a constituency that his dad won handily. I'm supposed to be impressed with this verdict somehow, even though he was caught dead to rights both audibly and visually. This is his buddy Haley, his dead brother's wife. Gross. Disposing of the firearm he bought illicitly due to his drug use. Also note the ham-fisted desire to gotcha Second Amendment supporters who have gloated over the verdict are supposed to suffer by supporting efforts to keep drug addicts from obtaining firearms, throwing them in a dumpster. Yeah, okay. Meanwhile, on the day his felonious son is convicted, Joey talks about hardening gun legislation. His tyranny is tiresome and his hypocrisy blinding. The best result of the Hunter Biden trial is that we now know, as if we didn't already, that the laptop he left at a Delaware repair shop was authentic. Remember the letter publicized in October of 2020, containing 51 former intel officials that we were supposed to believe knew, but didn't really know, wink wink, that the laptop was Russian disinformation? Here's a quick sample of media outlets reporting on that.
And tonight, the Trump campaign is accusing Twitter and Facebook of censorship after the social media companies blocked the spread of an unverified story about former Vice President Joe Biden's son and a laptop allegedly full of his old emails. It's a story raising concerns about whether it's real or just designed to sow confusion in the final weeks of the election.
Experts say it has all the hallmarks of information laundering.
This looks like your classic disinformation campaign.
Eric O'Neill is a former FBI operative.
Steal the information with a cyber attack, get the emails from Hunter Biden's account, and then put them on these laptops that are left at a repair store, and that's how the information is now laundered into the public.
Who do you think is behind this?
Well, the Russians would be my number one guess.
Social media outlets were quick to limit the spread of the story. Twitter briefly suspending the accounts of the Trump campaign and White House press secretary after they tried to share it.
Twitter and Facebook have limited the distribution of that Hunter Biden story. And last night, Twitter appeared to suspend the Twitter account of White House press secretary Kayleigh McEnany when she tried to share that story.
Damn. You know a story is shady when Facebook is saying, whoa, 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 whoa. Maybe people shouldn't see this.
For a long time, Giuliani has been openly working to dig up dirt and promote disinformation on the Bidens. And now, the Washington Post is also reporting that the intelligence community was so concerned that the Russians were using Giuliani to feed Russian disinformation to the president that they warned the White House about it last year. We're being told by 2 people who have been briefed on what the FBI is doing is that they're looking into whether these unverified emails about Hunter Biden published by the New York Post about foreign business dealings are part of the bigger Russian disinformation effort, which is well underway in these final days of the 2020 race. The intelligence community has said for months that Russia is very actively engaged in a disinformation campaign in the 2020 election, in particular against Joe Biden, to denigrate his campaign in favor of President Trump.
That montage goes on for another 18 minutes. It turns out that letter cited by Biden in one of the 2020 debates was cobbled together with duct tape and chewed gum by current Secretary of State and Columbia grad Antony Blinken. The Supreme Court justices are under fire again, but only those the left want to bully ahead of their final decisions for a variety of cases. One tactic is the use of audio released by a wackadoo who recorded Mr. and Mrs. Alito, who made the mistake of citing her faith, referring to Psalm 27. And finally, in the holy shit, I can't believe this wasn't already a thing file, We have the Pentagon announcing that they're finally tracking overdose deaths in light of some harrowing statistics. Former DEA official Derek Maltz.
The CCP is incentivizing the exports of fentanyl analogs and fentanyl precursor chemicals. They want to kill Americans. That's part of their strategic plan. So we have to get a little tougher on China. I know it's a very complicated issue. I mean, the FBI director's been saying it for months now. China's our biggest national security threat, but yet at the border, we're letting in about 4,000 illegal Chinese nationals. Most of them are military-aged men that are coming into this country. For what purpose? And why are we letting them in?
And one last note, Derek can be seen in the Stephen Tubbs documentary Devastated, available on YouTube. Anyway, as always, thanks for listening to episode 3 of Notionally Accurate. I'm your host, Captain Kirk. More to come on future episodes. Find this podcast on SoundCloud and YouTube, and Twitter/X at NotionallyACC. That's NotionallyACC. Email me at notionallyaccurate@protonmail.com. That's notionallyaccurate@protonmail.com. Take care, and remember, even if you can't be factually correct, you can always be notionally accurate.